and welcome back to
Bunso Bites.
I'm your host, Ami43.
And I'm your co-host, Chiggy.
How you doing today, Chiggy?
Not too bad.
I feel like it's been a long day/week. I don't know. I feel like it's not necessarily that I am tired, but I am. Like, I'm tired, but it's more like I'm just tired from the whole week. Like, I'm not tired just because of, like, today. I mean, today we had a pretty busy day, but, like, from the whole week, I feel really, really tired. And I don't even know if I accomplished anything. I just feel like life's been happening.
Yeah.
What's up with you? What's your weekly update?
I mean, I don't have much of a weekly update. It's the monotonous schedule of work, church, home, life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine is, I feel like I said, it's like, I feel like we've been so caught up in, like, trying to catch up. I remember I was talking to someone, one of my coworkers the other day, and I was like, I need 48 hours or 24 hours to catch up to today. Like, I was like, I just feel like I'm behind, and, like, even though today is, like, right here, I'm still here, and I'm like, I still, like, I'm trying to catch up. Work has been really, really busy, and then as soon as, like, we get out of work, it's like I have things to do, or we have things to take care of, and then after that it's like I get called to do something else, and then I get asked to do something else. So for my weekly update, we actually had a fun little kids activity this past weekend where it was very much college Ami, where I just got to play tour guide. And we did this thing where we explored this area here. And again, we live in Hampton Roads. And there was this area in Hampton Roads that had a prevalent battle during the American Revolution. And so I had fun doing it, but also it was just a lot to do because it was a lot of me having to do it. But I pretty much crash coursed American history. And it felt very like college cramming for an exam, and then I had to do this presentation. I mean, I call it a presentation. I was just showing the kids and teaching the kids while we did this like guided tour type of a thing. Shout out to Great Bridge Waterways Museum. They had a plethora of resources online, so I really didn't have to do a lot of work. I just had to memorize it in a very short amount of time. But it's a fantastic resource, and they do a lot of work in the preservation of not just the land and the site of the actual battle, but also the history of just the general area, and like the importance of the Chesapeake Bay and the waterways that surround it. If you do or do not know, Chesapeake Bay is like the big bay that's here in Hampton Roads. It's like it encompasses Hampton Roads, and then there's so many different little jetties and waterways and canals that like all interconnect. And so a big part of what they do is they preserve the history of how that has been utilized by, as far back as the Revolution time, or during the time of the Revolution. So very, very interesting stuff. They even had stuff on the American Indians. I want to say it's the Suwannee people. I could be wrong. I did not study as much into the like American Indian side of it. I really was just studying the battle side of it, but it was very, very interesting. Like, if you do or do not know, I actually have a minor. That's my biggest regret for college is I didn't double major, but I technically have a minor in art history. So I'm a big, big, big history buff. I loved studying history all throughout especially my college career, but even throughout regular school. And it was just kind of really interesting. I really felt like I was back in my college days, or it was nice. And then it kind of felt like I was like doing speech 101, presenting it in front of the kids, or like being a docent at a museum where you have to explain things and you give tours to people and stuff. So very nostalgic in a way for me, but it was something new and something different. I personally did not specialize in American history, so it was very novel to me. What I studied and what my dissertation was on when I studied in college was more like European and Renaissance and religious art.
Okay.
And so studying American history, and then I mean, me being the nerd that I was, I mean, I even delved into the American art of it and like all the recreation. There's so many people who do not recreate. What are they called? The where they like they reimagine, or they dress up and they do the reenactments. That's very, very popular here in Hampton Roads. And so I was watching so many videos of that and so many clips of that so that you can kind of really get a glimpse of it. We live a couple towns over, or a town and a half over from Williamsburg, which is a really, really big historical city place, and they have a whole section of Williamsburg that's dedicated to full reenactment, full, like, people live their lives doing that and maintaining that lifestyle, which is really, really cool. And what I love is that it's literally in our backyard. Like, it's right there, and kind of being so close to that history, and there's such a strong community of that here, being able to do that, and kind of it was nice. It was stressful because I had a very short turnaround time to like actually do it, but I think it went well. We seemed to have a lot of fun, and it was hot, and then we had popsicles at the end, so everyone had fun. Yeah, so that was my weekly update. Nothing crazy, but I'm definitely tired.
Yeah.
Just, I'm feeling it.
Of course. Like, while you were doing your weekly update, I was doing my weekly update, where me and my friend, we were at a card show here in Norfolk.
Yes.
And it was primarily geared towards Pokemon.
Yes.
Very rarely would we see some vendors with other types of merchandise. But there were a couple who did not have Pokemon but had other things. And then there was one vendor that was selling strictly gummy foods.
Oh yeah, the little candies.
Yeah. But and we went there. I wasn't going to pick up anything Pokemon related, because at first I was like, if there is going to be stuff, it's probably going to be inflated.
They have to have their profits.
Right.
Resell
and
stuff.
It so happened that when I did go to the venue, I was eyeing products that I was eyeing myself here locally.
Okay.
So one of the products was at Costco, and it was a 2-pack bundle of Prismatic Evolutions ETB and Booster Bundle pack.
Okay.
And our Costco never got the stock.
Right.
And
I remember we were looking for it for a while.
We were looking for it for a while. But I never found it in store, and I never found it online. And so I saw some of them at the card show, and I was like, you're a scalper. And so like, whatever it was selling at Costco was at least double at the card show.
Wow. Yeah.
So I was like, man, I'm not gonna buy anything. I'm not that desperate enough for cards. So I can wait for a restock to happen, and or Pokemon Center to get a restock and try my luck over there, but I'm not willing to pay double MSRP for cards I can get at MSRP. So other than that, my friend was looking for WWE cards. There was one vendor who had one booster box of it.
Oh wow.
And it got snatched up as soon as we walked away.
Really?
Yep. He was like, I see it, I know the price of it, I don't want to spend a third more of MSRP of what it is. And so he was like, let me think about it, we'll come back around. And as soon as we left, we looked back to see if it was still there, and it was gone.
Wow. Well, that's the thing. That's the hard part. And I will say because I joined up with Chicky after the fact, and I was there just for a little bit I wasn't going to buy anything, but I just wanted to look. And it was a very full room. It was a conference room at a hotel, and it was a very, very full room, which goes to show, and I was telling Chicky this too, the Pokemon community in our area in Hampton Roads is pretty big. And I say that positively. I feel like we're all, for the most part, I feel like the community is nice, albeit if you listen to, our previous episode, we have run into a couple not so nice people, but generally speaking, outside of that, the overall community is pretty big. And also I feel like I was talking about this with our friend's daughter who also collects. She and I were both saying that after a certain degree, even if you don't know the people, you remember faces and you remember personalities.
Of course.
So, because she was saying, she's just like, yeah, because like I won't remember the so and so shopkeeper's name, but I'll remember the card that I bought from that person. And it's kind of, and I told her, I was like, I have the same feeling where it's like, you know, you go to the same couple card show or the local card shows, and after a while you do see the same faces, and that's kind of what I think is nice, and in a sense of there is that type of camaraderie. Like we all have a good, like we're all friends of friends of friends. Like we're all 2-3 people away from knowing everyone else. And I fully believe that, especially here, you know, within our Hampton Roads Pokemon community. And I'm not even like super duper like nerdy about it. I think I'm just a fan. I'm not a fanatic, I'm a fan. And I can say that, you know, I kind of know faces, I kind of know general, particularly the vendors, you know. So it's really, really nice. And then actually there was, my favorite thing about the card show was after a while, Chiggy and I we were sitting down for a little bit, and we were kind of sitting by where the entrance was. So we were seeing people coming in and out, and we were just, our favorite, like, it was my favorite thing. We were just looking at people's shirts. Like,
just people watching.
Yeah, people watching, but like looking at their merch. So like I saw 3 Misties. I saw, 1 Dawn. I love watching kids and like they're like seeing like what Pokemon shirts they have. The one that stood out to us was it was a couple, and the guy had a Kanto shirt and the girl had a Hoenn shirt, and inside the text of Kanto and Hoenn was the starters and like their art and stuff, and it was very, very cool. So we both kind of like looked at that, we're like, oh, that's a nice shirt. Because Chiggy and I, if you couldn't tell, I mean, I'm sure you can based on previous episodes, we love a good graphic tee, we love a good graphic sweater, and especially nerdy ones. We're big T-Turtle fans. We love getting what's the other one that we get, the one with the puns on them, like the Baja Blastoise and the Chick-fil-A. Like we like really cute puns like that, and wearing those shirts. I saw 2 Chick-fil-A's at the at the cards show, or there was the other one, the one of my favorites was the Snorlax shirt, and it was a Snorlax button up collar shirt, and like if you squint from far away, it just looks like a blue pattern shirt, but then when you look at it, it's Snorlax, and it was like a blue, almost, it looked kind of like a dive ball, but it kind of looked like it was in Snorlax colors, and there was Munchlax on it, and it was just a really cute blue button-up shirt. And I pointed it out to Chiggy. I was like, you need that shirt. We got complimented on our shirts. I was wearing my Squirtle tee, and Chiggy was wearing his Snorlax tee, so that was really fun. And it's just, again, it's kind of like that understanding of just like, I get you. I get your hype. I get your vibe. So yeah, that was a lot of fun.
It was. We're still planning on going to the Comic-Con at the end of the month. Yeah. And there, you know, we'll probably see a bunch more cool looking stuff and merch. So we'll give you guys an update on that in a couple of weeks.
For sure. Yeah, actually, I am excited about that. Now that we've like kind of semi-formally committed to it, I'm kind of excited. Whether or not I have time, I have no idea. Because I literally am like thinking about, okay, so I want to cosplay when we go, but like this week I have a lot going on, and I'm going out of town, and then I'll be out of town, and then we're coming back, and then there's a wedding, and then there's a con, and I'm like, so if I stay up this night, and like I'm just trying to think of like what I can do. I have no idea. We'll see. No guarantees on the cosplay, but if I get the opportunity to cosplay with the EV backpack, I think that'd be really, really fun.
Yeah, I mean, even if you don't cosplay, just bring in the EV backpack. A lot of people will know who you're trying to cosplay as.
I think so, yeah. Or if I kind of just do, maybe not a spot-on cosplay, but just a generalized. Because I'm pretty sure if I don't have one, I know you have a black sweater and, you know, shorts and a skirt and some leggings. So we'll see. Anyways, that's not even the topic of today's episode. Today's episode, we wanted to talk about, and this is just something that happened to, actually, it happened to Chiggy recently, where, and we've discussed this before, where our friends have talked to us about love and life, and
Mm-hmm.
as friends do, right? You know, when you're hanging out with your friends and it's been a couple hours, and then y'all just really start talking about deep stuff that
You get your heart to hearts.
yeah,
Your
and
H to H conversations.
yeah, and like in the best of ways, right? Because that's the best of friendships, is when you can be vulnerable, when you can talk about these things. And recently, one of Chiggy's friends was talking to him just generally about love and life, and he said something, and it all kind of tied together. But one of the things that kind of stood out to me was this particular friend of his is 30 years old.
Mm-hmm.
30 years old. And his specifications was 4 years over and 4 years under. And I was like, that's a interesting way to look at it. But also, I was trying to think, I was like, well, when I was 30, I was like, is that how I looked at it? To be fair, not really, because I was already dating Chiggy by then.
Mm-hmm.
But I was kind of thinking, I was like, how did I view age ranges when I was dating, or when I was looking for someone to date? And to be honest, I feel like for me, it was always 10 or below. Like, once I reached 10, I'm kind of like, okay, that's a pretty big gap, generally speaking. There are couples out there that are 10 or more,
Yeah.
and they are successful, and I think that's great for them. Me, in the times that I was dating and or / scouting, looking, whatever, my number was always vaguely 10. I never really got there,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think. I mean, I remember I liked a guy that was a lot older than me, but like that was never a relationship. I just remember liking a guy that was older than me, and that was when I was way younger. That doesn't really count. But in the dating world, I was always like 10. So then when Chiggy told me that his friend said 4 years, I was like, But then I was thinking about it. I was like, well, technically that's an 8-year range.
Mm-hmm.
He's just in the middle of it. And so I don't know, Chiggy, what are your thoughts on the whole age specificity, or like age range on dating?
Yeah. So when you're a lot younger,
Mm-hmm.
especially in your teens, and I'm gonna strictly say at least 18.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Just because I don't want to be like weird
Yeah,
like that.
we're not being weird. This is not a weird podcast. We're talking about adults here.
Yeah. So, especially if you're like on the younger side,
Mm-hmm.
at least 18, like probably 18 to 21.
18 to 28.
Your range of dating is a lot smaller than someone who's a lot older than you would be. So like when I was back in my 18 to 21 year old
Self.
Chiggy,
Yeah.
my range was 1 up, 3 down. So if I was 21 at the time, I would date between 22 and 18.
What?
Yeah.
Oh wow, this is very interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Where did these numbers come from?
It's arbitrary, but
Okay.
I felt like, dating someone around your age range
Mm-hmm.
would, be better.
Yeah.
Because like, say I'm 21,
Sure.
and then if I took your range and I
Right.
dated someone who was 10 years younger than me, that's kind of pedophile-ish.
Okay. Well, I was about to say, we're saying 18 plus. Like, let's.
That's what I'm saying. So like, if you're 21,
Yeah.
your range would be at least 3 years down, because it has to stay within adulthood.
Right. Yeah,
Right. So at least 18, 21, and then going up 1 at least if they're, that mature.
Wow, that's so interesting. Why 1 year up instead of 3 years up?
I mean, that was just me personally.
Okay.
My group of friends,
Sure.
I was one of the older ones.
Oh.
So dating 1 year above me
Yeah.
would be like the max of our friend group.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I wanted to go higher than that, it would be a different friend group.
Oh, interesting.
Either that or, a different age generation.
Oh, see, okay, that's wild, because when I was, my first boyfriend, we were a year apart. He was a
Mhm.
year older than me, and that was like my high school sweetheart. I guess we'll classify that. When I got into college, and I dated, like, I guess, quote unquote, more seriously, like, I had a boyfriend, and he was a semi long-term boyfriend, because I classify him as my college boyfriend. He was 4 or 5 years older than me, because I started college. He was done with college.
Okay.
And so it's wild to me that like for you, you were just like, oh no, my max is 1 year old. I was like, I was already dating people that were like done with college when I started college.
So you do have to take into account, I'm the guy and you're the girl. And so for you, you would date up where I would date down.
Oh,
You have to take into account that too.
Okay. You don't want to date a cougar.
I didn't say that.
Yeah.
But I said I'd date 1 year up.
Right. Oh, that's so interesting.
Like for you, would you date 3 years down? So your 21-year-old Ami would date an 18-year-old guy.
There was a guy that like if I wasn't dating someone that I would have, yeah. But that just never worked. Like we were friends with each other because we were in a same friend group and he was younger than me. And like it was one of those like if it happens it happens, but it never did because I was always dating someone or he was always dating someone. And then I moved away. So like it never happened, but like I wouldn't mind dating someone. Well, okay, it's not that's probably like a rare occurrence though. Yeah. Because a lot of guys my age I was annoyed with them because they were not mature enough. This guy that I'm talking about that was younger than me, I felt like he was relatively mature and we had really similar interests, so it wasn't really like I don't know, that didn't, I never thought about it that way, but it didn't bother me back then. But I was already dating someone, so I couldn't even think about it, you know? Okay. But yeah, most of the guys my age, I'm thinking about it, I'm like my friend group that were my age, that were like within 1 or 2 years of me, were really annoying. Like, fair enough. I mean, I love them. I still love them. I'm still friends with them. But I didn't jive with them because like you guys are just so annoying. But yeah, that is interesting, I guess. I never thought a bit about it as like guy and girl specific, but I suppose it makes sense because guys mature later, I guess, right? Isn't that what they say? Frontal cortex stuff?
25.
Yeah, and ours is 21? Question mark? 22?
Question mark, I don't know.
We are both immature, so that does not apply to either of us. Like, I'm just being real. Anyways, and then fast forward, at least, and I will be honest, for me, all except for one of my boyfriends were older than me. Okay. And by the one, I'm pretty sure he and I were like within a couple months of each other. By I want to say we were born the same year because I'm born earlier in the year and I think he was born later in the year, but we were, yeah, everyone else though was older than me. And by older I mean like, yeah, the smallest gap was 4 years was my college boyfriend, and then everyone else was, yeah, wow, I guess I just makes sense now, because how many years apart are we? 6?
We are 6 years, 3 months, 2 weeks.
Yeah, that. So okay, anyways, but going back to the conversation you were having with your friend, because I just wanted to talk about that because I thought that was interesting. But and so he was just talking about life, and you can fill in on this, but he was talking about life, and then he was just saying that he's looking for someone. He's at that age, I guess, where he's looking for someone, which is totally fine and viable. I was the same way. In my late 20s, I very fortunately met Chiggy, and you were already 30. How old were you when we met? You were 30. You were 31. Yeah. And Chiggy's friend now is 30. So it's really interesting to me because he's saying he was 31 and then he met me and now we're together, but then his friend's like, I only want to go 4 years. And I'm just like, open your horizons. There's so much more out there.
I mean, I myself, I still had that range of ages that I wanted to date within. Yeah. But when you do meet someone and it starts working out, your age range is not going to matter anymore. Yeah. That's something that is a point that I wanted to discuss as well.
Chiggy and I met or re-met as within our like mutual friend group.
Mm-hmm.
When I moved back here, I became friends with one of his friends, and I had, like I said, we knew each other as children, but like we didn't know each other, and then as adults we re-met each other. But one of the things that I distinctly remember was when we were working together, it, lack of a better way of saying it, but we just clicked and vibed pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I felt like, and don't get me wrong, I know Chiggy was going out of his way to impress me because whatever, like, you know, when you're kind of doe-eyed in love, you're like doing all these nice things or whatever. But when Chiggy and I were together, it just always felt like wherever I would leave off, Chiggy would kind of pick up, and then vice versa. And I don't know, I felt so relaxed with you in that way. Like, I didn't feel like we were trying to get along. It just felt like, oh, I actually do just get along with this guy pretty well. You know, even in the beginning when we were awkward and shy around each other, it didn't feel forced in any way. At least I don't think it felt forced at all. So it's kind of really funny to me that, you know, again, this friend is just like, yeah, this age or this age. So all that to fast forward, as Chiggy's hanging out with his friend, he shoots me a text message, and he's just like, hey, do you know any girls with this age range? Because this guy said age range. And I was like, all right, bet. And I start sending all of my single friends. Just to be fair, and this is not like I'm trying to set up my friends with his friend. This is not that at all. We have a lot of mutual friends, and I'm friends with this particular friend as well. But it was just kind of like okay, let's just see, like, out of the list of all these girls, like, who is someone that this person would be interested in. So we're going. And then eventually, like, because obviously he's hanging out with his friends, so like the text messages between us stop. And then the next day we were talking about it, and it turns out that through all of that, you and your friends, you were able to determine that he has a type, or like he has a preference of girls. And so, which obviously I feel like everyone does, but it was kind of like it was a really funny realization after the fact, because when the conversation started, it was not, oh, I'm looking for a girl who's like this. It started as, I'm looking for a girl within this age range, and then that turned into oh, but this is his type, so this is the type of girl that, you know, we should probably introduce to him, or he can probably like try to talk to or something. And I don't know, it was just, I find it so interesting. But all that to say, Chiggy, what are your, I guess if you were in this friend's shoes, you know, you're 30 years old, you're single, but you're living like your best life. You don't have, you're already working, you're independent, you're doing your own thing. But like, what would you do, or what would you do if you were in these friends' shoes to quote unquote pursue love, or like to try to move that chapter forward in your life?
I mean, for me personally, I never tried, like, and you know me, I don't. What
does that mean?
You know me, I don't have any type of game whatsoever.
You don't got rizz, yeah.
Yes. And so whatever I did to impress you came naturally.
He was very kind.
Yeah. So, and even the other friend that was with us, while we were having our heart-to-heart conversation, he's older than me.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't think I even knew of him dating, like, in all the years that I've known him. And so, he's actually 2 years older than me.
Okay.
And he met someone in, you know, late in his life as well. So he was in his 30s, and
I want to say he was in his late 30s
by
the time
he's in his 30s.
Yeah.
And, you know, it just happened to click. And I think, you know, just people who date later in life, they have a lot less restrictions on dating.
What do you mean by that?
So, like, they're not so nitpicky on what the other person has to have in order for them to date. So, like, oh, this person needs to be a certain age range, a certain height, a certain build, a certain look to them, a certain personality. But instead of having those certainties, you just tend to look at the person and accept them for who they are. So
Okay.
You know, I think just being older in life, and in dating within that range, you just tend to let go of a lot of things that used to bother you or used to nitpick at, and you just accept the things that the person comes with as is.
Sure. Can I counter that? And
Okay.
it's not that I full on disagree.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not necessarily that your list lessens. I think your priorities change.
Yeah, of
So
course.
maybe I'm not looking for, the JKs of the world as my partner. But who am I looking for? I'm looking for someone who shares the same faith as me. I'm looking for someone who, has patience, because I'm a tornado and I need someone to like be patient.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for someone who, and I'm speaking, this is all personal, but it's like, instead of looking for, a 6-pack of abs, I'm looking for someone who I can, play video games with. What?
When you said this is a 6-pack of abs, I said, in my mind, a 6-pack of soda.
I mean that too, but all of that does, and it's kind of like, I feel like it's not that it's less or more or whatever. I think just the priority changes, or the intention changes, right? Because for me, these things are important, because who I'm choosing, in this weird thing we call life, who I want to be my life partner, I want us to have the same morals. I want us to have the same values. I want us to have the same priorities.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to love family as much as I love family, because my family is extremely important to me. Like, all these things that are what's my core as a person, and can my core as a person and the core of, my significant other vibe with me. And I don't know if I've said this on the podcast. I say this all the time though. The week that I re-met Chiggy, or the week that like Chiggy and I reconnected, I swore off guys, because I was like, every single one of them are immature. I could not find someone who I could just vibe with and be like present with. And then I met Chiggy, and then a lot of things happened and changed, and I was like, oh wow. So it truly was I joke about it, but it genuinely is true. It's the moment I stopped looking, the moment I stopped trying to be like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to stand out when I go hang out with my friends, because I stopped. I was like, I don't care. I'm just going to hang out with friends. I'm just going to go to work. I'm just going to go do this. And then Chiggy tumbled into my life very naturally and very calmly and very peacefully. Almost scarily, like, so, in a sense of like how well it worked so quickly. But that's kind of the reason why I knew that I was like, well, if it works this well so easily, then yeah, that's what makes sense. So even though we were older, supposedly, older, then, it didn't matter, because it was just like, I could get along with this person, and we can be together, because I stopped trying, in a sense, or I think because of that, the energy in the room was just like, well, she's not trying, she's just being. And I think you were in a similar state of, lack of a better phrase, but it's like, let go and let God, because you had just celebrated your 30th or your 31st birthday. And so you were anticipating like, hey, I want the next step of my life to happen. But you were also just kind of like letting life happen. Not like you were trying to be passive. Not that you weren't trying to better yourself or your life. But it was just kind of like, we were both at that state. And it was just the moment we stopped looking. That's when we found each other. Sorry, I know you were continuing your thought, but I just wanted to add that point. So, again, advice?
For this friend,
yeah,
you are in your 30s. It doesn't mean that you need to rush into things. You are in a very good spot at the moment.
Yeah.
Yourself in your career at the moment, you're very financially well off. And so he has his career, he has his education, and I think now it's time for him to just let God, like you said earlier, and just have things fall in place for him naturally.
Okay.
Because when we were having our heart to heart,
Yeah.
he would say that, I would, go up to this person and try to talk to them.
Sure.
I don't know about you, but I feel like that may be pushing it a little bit too aggressive. But you can still talk to whoever, but I think he just approaches it a little bit too aggressively in my opinion.
Okay.
Like in my experience, I don't give off that energy where I'm like, hey, I'm giving this rizz and I'm trying to impress you and blah blah blah. But I know you want to laugh because I don't have any.
Okay. For genuine clarity, like one of the things that I love so much about Chiggy and that I loved from the beginning was that he wasn't trying to be like the guy. Like he really wasn't. From the moment that the first time we sat down and had lunch together, and I'm gonna be real, Chiggy didn't really talk that much, but the way he listened to me made me feel like the things that I was saying was important. Whenever he would respond to me, he would respond with insight, with his opinion. Like we were having a conversation, he was listening to me, and I was important. Like it didn't take much.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he respected me and my space and me in that moment was much more impactful to me than someone who would come up to me and be like, hey girl, like, which that's not a thing. I mean, I'm down for a good pun. I'm always down for like a good joke or like a, anything like that. But it's always just like, I don't know. My favorite thing was that, like, again, for Chiggy and I specifically, it happened so naturally and subtly, and the way our lives just clicked together, easy. We didn't try to make it happen. It happened, is what I love the most.
Yeah. So, I mean, ultimately, I would give the advice to this person is just let things happen organically, let it happen naturally. Don't think too much into it. Mm-hmm. And really just enjoy where you are at in life at the moment. Right.
Yeah. And I feel like it's one of those things too where you have the independence and you have the like independence is in like you don't have to answer to anybody. Like you're just doing you. Go eat at all the places you want to eat, go do the things that you want to do, go travel to the places that you want to travel. Experience the things that you want to experience in life when you don't have to answer to anybody. You don't have a wife, you don't have kids, you don't have, and you're done with school. Like you're just working. And so this is kind of that fun part of your life where you can experience life as much as you want to, mm-hmm. within your means, within your limits. And so it's, and I feel like, again, it's kind of that thing of like, you're not trying. Like if you focus on having fun with your life and doing your thing, you end up, I don't know, like I feel like that's the best place to find someone.
Yeah.
I have another friend of mine who she lives up in New York, and it's something that she and I talked about too. She was one of those friends that, like, I met her, we talked, we worked on a project together, and then we talked one time, or like we hung out one time, and we just kind of vibed from there. Like I can talk to her and tell her really, really deep things, mm-hmm. and it doesn't feel weird. I also feel like she and I were in similar places, or like we were able to connect on a lot of different things. And one of the things that I was telling her too, because she's, she has this amazing job, she has this amazing career, and she's doing all these things that she loves. And she's kind of the same, where she's just like, but I don't have anybody or whatever. And I told her, I was just like, it will happen when it happens. Like, you were literally shining as bright as you can right now. Another, it will come to you in that sense, Obviously, if I could wish for it to happen to you now, that'd be great. That'd be wonderful. Right. But also, it's just like, it it will happen when it happens. And not only that, you will find the type of person that you're looking for, not just you're looking and it's like, oh, this person kind of fits, or oh, this person's good enough, or oh, you're the ideal version, or like however it is that you see them is what you're picking. And it's like, no, like the actual person will be the person that you end up attracting and finding. It recently happened for another one of my friends where she was like hardcore single, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Like she is so hyper focused on her studies. She's currently working on X graduate degree. I have no idea. I love you, friend, but I don't know what you're working on. You're working on a graduate degree. And she, through a friend of a friend of a friend, like literally, 2-3 times removed, they met each other at, an activity, and then friend of a friend of a friend, and then the guy just kind of slid into her DMs, and not in a weird or creepy way, but just genuinely like, I really liked meeting you, I really liked vibing with you. And now they're in like the cutest and happiest relationship, and I'm so happy for them because I actually am friends with them both like separately, and I'm like, oh, you guys are together, that's so fun. Like I was like, I love that so much for you. But it happened when she is so busy right now with whatever her graduate program is, but that's the thing, she's doing her thing, she's focusing on herself, and that's the moment that she found this really great guy. Now, I mean, they're not married, I don't know what's going on, but at the same time, it's like, it seems really great for them. And so that's kind of what I would say, particularly for those who, because I mean, we all see it in the movies, like, oh, it would be great if you marry your high school sweetheart, or, oh, the person you meet in college, like, when you're young and everything is new and fresh and exciting or whatever. But honestly, waiting till you are at a place where you're standing on your own 2 feet and you were the coolest and best version of yourself, at least in that moment, right? I liked our relationship that way, because I feel like you and I came to it when we were mature enough to realize how special it was. And because we knew how special it was, then we took care of it and nourished our relationship in the way that it needed to be, so that we could get through all the things that we had to endure to get to where we are today. So yeah, I feel like, yeah, it's not the Hollywood version of love. It's not the TV, happily ever after, but I feel like when you are a little bit older and you're a little bit more steady on your feet, I feel like it's kind of more fun that way. I don't know.
Yeah. I want to point out something you said with your friend, how she is at a point in her life where she has a very successful career, and she's shining bright.
Yeah.
And it's at those times where I liken it to moths to a flame.
Yeah, I didn't want to say, I was thinking mosquitoes, and I was like, that's not a nice thing to say about that friend. My friend, you are not a mosquito, but that was what I was thinking, and I was like, I can't say that word.
Yeah. And so her being that bright light, it will attract the type of person that she wants in her life.
Yeah.
So my analogy would be to my friend to, just continue on doing what you're doing, shine in the light that you would like others to like about you. Right. And then someone will come along the way, like those things about you, and it will just click.
My mom, especially when I moved away from them and had to live on my own due to all the life circumstances that were happening, my mom, in my lowest of lows, like when I wasn't confident, when I was freaking out because I was still figuring out how to life, but and especially when I first moved out, my mom said that my mom's a big plant person, caveat, and she said, this is you finding your place in the sun. And the pain or the lows that you feel, whether it's because you feel alone, because you're trying to figure things out, or you had to move away, and so you're not with the same support that you're used to, that's you creating roots. And the more you endure through that, the more you overcome on your own, the stronger your roots become, which means that your flower blooms bigger. Which I feel like is a very poetic way of explaining that. I mean, life is always messy. Life is not perfect. Life can be really, really hard. But if you know, all things considered, you know, if you keep your head down, work hard, let your light shine bright, then a lot of great things can happen. I was at one of my lowest lows. When I was saying, like, I don't want to talk to guys anymore, because at this point, there was a couple guys that I was like not talking to or dating necessarily, but it was just kind of like, in a way, they were like lifelines. I was like, well, they were options, I suppose. But it felt so unfulfilled, and it felt so empty, because it wasn't amounting to anything. It was just kind of this thing. And I was like, why am I doing this to myself? And I was, and at that point I was like, do I even deserve, like, here's the options I have on the table, A, B, C, and D, and all of them are not great for me. And I was like, maybe it's me. I'm the problem. I say that all the time, but it's like, I'm the problem. And I was like, I need to stop focusing on guys. I need to stop looking at guys. I gotta be me. I have to do what I need to do, and at the time I was still figuring out my job situation, still figuring out my life, how I was going to take care of all the things that were going on. And then as soon as I said no, Chiggy's like, hey, and I'm like, oh, hold on, who dis? And so all of that to say, I hope that to any of you who's listening, if you are in a place where you feel like you don't get why your love life's not working out, well, first of all, you don't need anybody. If you want to meet someone, if you want to be with someone, that's fine and dandy. Love is great. You don't need anybody. But one of the best things you can do, truly, genuinely, as cheesy as it sounds, work and focus on yourself. The other things kind of fall into place. And, don't be weird about it either, in a sense of, don't shun yourself away from it. Like, go out, go travel, go eat at play, go try new experiences, do all the fun things that you, like I said, live life to that maximum of experiencing all the wonderful and great things that life has to offer. And when you are, when you're shining your beautiful little light, then, someone may come along. And that's all you can really hope for, because that's generally, at least in my opinion, that's the best kind of love story, because at least that was our love story. What about you, Chiggy? Any final thoughts?
I mean, just gonna reiterate the common saying here is let go and let God.
Aww. To
those that have the same faith as us, it's literally the best advice that we can give.
Little caveat, I could be butchering this, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Before we met, is that a word? Yeah, before we re-met, didn't you have like a personal like prayer?
Yeah.
Asking for someone?
I did, and it was in the time where it was after my 31st birthday, and that's when I would hold a devotion of prayer.
Yeah.
And I'd do that for, I don't know, I think a couple of months straight.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, it was answered.
It was. And this is not to say, obviously Chiggy and I, our faith is important to us. We believe it in prayer, and we believe it in that type of thing. But again, I think it really comes down to that focusing and that working on yourself and that self-love. Yes, he had a devotion praying for something or praying for someone, but that was also you building up on your faith, you building up on yourself and your qualities and your priorities in life. And one of the big things that I love so much about Chiggy is how strong of a man of faith he is. Like, I cannot take that away from him, and I would never, like, that's the thing that solidified the fact that I'm, like, proud to be by his side. And so, you know, again, that's our priorities. We're not trying to say one way or the other, but that's how it worked out for us. So anyways, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for listening. We are not love gurus, and obviously this is all just personal experience, and you know, we hope you enjoyed the listen. We hope it brought a little bit of light into your life, into your day, and we hope that you guys like this episode. Continue to comment, like, and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye.